Rain dripped down cracked streets as a voice whispered through static, "You're not the only one watching him." Armin Malik once thought he was exposing corruption. He believed Daniel Ward, the powerful HOA chairman, had stolen the land of his people. But the deeper he dug, the darker it became. Leaked files, secret meetings, missing witnesses, and one truth that refused to stay buried. Every step closer brought another lie, another shadow in the mirror, until Armin discovered something terrifying. He wasn't chasing Daniel's crimes. He was chasing his own past. Now, hunted by men he once worked for, and haunted by memories he can't trust, Armin must face the truth. The man he's fighting to destroy might be the same man he used to be. And as the city sleeps under storm clouds, one question remains. Who really stole the land, and who stole his soul? A cold evening settled over the city. The streets glowed with golden lamps, and in the distance, a black car approached slowly. Inside sat Armin, a man with sharp eyes and a calm face, carrying secrets heavier than the night. The city waited, unaware of the storm that was about to begin. As the car disappeared into the heart of the city, Armin stepped out in a narrow alley. The air was colder here, the silence broken only by dripping water. He lit a cigarette, waiting. Suddenly, a shadow moved at the far end of the alley. Someone was following him. But who? Armin's eyes narrowed. Tonight was not going to be ordinary. The figure stepped closer, boots echoing on the wet ground. Armin didn't move. He just exhaled smoke into the cold air. A raspy voice whispered, "You shouldn't have come back to this city." The man's face was half hidden under a hood, but his trembling hand held a small folded note. Armin took it calmly, unfolded it, and his eyes froze. The message was clear. "Leave now, or die tonight." Armin stood still, the warning note heavy in his hand. His eyes narrowed as memories rushed back. The night his land was taken, the betrayal carved deep into his soul. He clenched his fist, crushing the paper slightly, but refused to bend. A sudden noise broke the silence. Footsteps, fast and chaotic. Someone was running through the alley, and for a brief second, Armin thought they might not be alone. Armin stepped out of the alley, his heart pounding but his steps steady. The city's silence was broken only by the sound of hurried footsteps fading into the distance. He lit another cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating his sharp features. He knew someone was watching him. He didn't run, he walked, every sense alert like a hunter stalking prey. But deep down, he feared, maybe this time, The streets narrowed, and the night grew heavier. Armand stopped mid-step. He heard it, a whisper, faint but clear, brushing past his ear like cold wind. His eyes darted across the shadows, but no one was there. Fear twisted into anger. Whoever was stalking him was playing a dangerous game. The whisper was not his imagination. A tall figure emerged from the darkness, silent, slow, deliberate. The man's face stayed hidden, but his presence was undeniable. Armand's fists clenched, his heart pounded. He knew this encounter would change everything. Tonight, the truth was walking toward him. The sound of boots echoed, slow, confident, haunting. Armand didn't move. The man stopped just a few steps away, his face still hidden beneath the shadows. Then, in a voice that carried both calm and cruelty, he said, "You were never meant to find this place." Armand's pulse raced. He had waited years to hear that voice again. The fog hung heavy between them. Armand took a slow step forward, his voice trembling yet fierce. "Who are you?" The man chuckled, a sound too familiar to forget. Then, as the light flickered, his face came into view. Faintly scarred, eyes cold, but unmistakable. It was Daniel Ward, the same HOA chairman who signed the fake land deal 8 years ago. The man Armand thought had disappeared forever. For a moment, silence ruled the night. Until Daniel spoke again. "You shouldn't have come back, Armand. Some graves are better left covered." Armand's fists clenched. The storm he'd buried inside was finally waking up. That night, Armand couldn't sleep. The ghost of Daniel's words echoed in his head. Some graves are better left covered. But Armand had already dug too deep. He opened his old laptop, one he hadn't touched in years, its screen flickering like his own heartbeat. Inside were old files, contracts, emails, blueprints, proof of what the HOA did to him. By dawn, Armand stood in front of his window, eyes fixed on the horizon. "You took everything from me, Daniel," he whispered. "Now I'll take your world apart, piece by piece."
This changes
His voice was calm,
everything.
but his eyes burned like fire. The plan began with a single email, a quiet message sent to a lawyer known for destroying powerful men. Armand's revenge had just begun. 3 days later, the peaceful silence of Oak Ridge Street shattered. Daniel Ward, the proud face of the HOA, walked out to fetch his morning paper, only to find a bright red envelope sitting on his doorstep. His name printed in bold, a single word stamped on top, "Notice." He tore it open. His confident smile vanished. The lawsuit was official, a federal property fraud case, listing every illegal home built on stolen land. And at the very bottom, in fine print, one name burned through his mind: Armand Malik. Daniel froze, his coffee cup slipping from his hand, smashing into the pavement. The neighborhood dogs barked, as if they could sense what had just begun. The fall of a man who thought he owned everything. By the time Daniel's lawyer returned his frantic calls, it was already too late. The story had spread like wildfire. Someone, no one knew who, had leaked confidential HOA documents to every local news channel in the city. And every headline screamed the same words: HOA built 35 homes on stolen land.
I have no further comment at this time.
Reporters swarmed Oak Ridge
Please
Street.
respect our privacy.
Cameras flashed outside Daniel's house. His neighbors, once admiring, now whispered behind their blinds. The mighty man of the HOA was now a public villain, and in a small apartment miles away, Armand sat quietly, watching the news on an old TV. A faint smile
This is a
on his
critical
face.
moment we
His first
cannot
move had
ignore.
worked, but it was only the beginning. Daniel didn't sleep that night. The headlines looped on every screen. His name burned into the city's anger. But beneath that chaos, something darker was rising inside him. By dawn, he was in his office.
Take a look at
Blinds
this new
closed,
development. It
phone
could
off.
impact our next move
His
significantly.
lawyer sat across the table, trembling as Daniel stared coldly at the leaked documents spread before him. "Find out who
Webbing
leaked
fans.
this," Daniel said.
We've
quietly.
identified the suspect.
And when you
Keep
do,
tracking the victim's
ruin them.
digital footprint.
He called his media contacts, ordered favors, and sent money through secret accounts. Within hours, online posts began to flip the narrative. Stories accusing Armand Malik of fraud, fake identity, and blackmail. By evening, Daniel was back on the front page, but this time as the victim. The game had turned, and Armand had no idea what was coming next. Armand woke up to chaos. His phone buzzed non-stop. Messages, news alerts, and emails all carrying one message: he'd been exposed. Fake documents, fake accounts, fake charges. The city now believed he was the villain. He sat in silence, eyes fixed on the flickering TV screen, where Daniel appeared in a calm interview, playing the victim perfectly. But Armand wasn't broken. He smiled faintly, just like before. He opened his drawer, pulled out a black notebook filled with names. connections, and one line underlined twice: follow the money. Armin knew where Daniel's real power came from, and now he was going to burn it from the inside. 3 nights later, Armin walked through the glass doors of Ward Enterprises. No one recognized him. Clean-shaven, sharp gray suit, new identity, and a forged badge that said consultant. He moved calmly past the guards, every step echoing with silent purpose. Inside the grand office, the walls were lined with gold plaques, Daniel's empire shining under soft lights. But behind that shine was rot, and Armin could smell it. He plugged a tiny flash drive into a computer terminal, eyes darting as files opened like secret windows into Daniel's corruption. Minutes later, he heard footsteps. Daniel's secretary walked in and froze. Armin smiled politely, pretending to be just another employee. He knew he had seconds to escape before the real hunt began. Armin didn't wait to think. The moment the secretary's hand reached for her phone, he pulled the flash drive free and stood up calmly. "Forgot my coffee," he muttered, walking toward the door, his heart racing though his face stayed perfectly still. Behind him, the secretary hesitated, unsure of what she'd just seen. Armin stepped into the hallway, moving quickly toward the emergency exit. The lights flickered. The hum of the building grew louder. A guard turned the corner. Their eyes met. Armin smiled, then dropped his briefcase. It hit the floor with a loud thud. Papers scattered. By the time the guard bent to help, Armin was gone. He slipped into the stairwell, running down the steps, breath controlled, every sound echoing. Outside, rain poured. Hours later, in a cheap motel room, Armin opened his laptop. The files were safe, but one stood out. Daniel's signature approving illegal land use. And beneath it, a note. "You're not the only one watching him." Rain tapped softly on the motel window as Armand stared at his laptop, the note echoing in his head. "You're not the only one watching him." Then his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. A distorted voice whispered, "You shouldn't have opened that file, Armand." He froze. "Who is this?" Static. Then a faint chuckle. "Check the envelope under your door." Heart pounding, Armand moved to the door. A soaked envelope waited. He tore it open. Inside was a single photo. Daniel, alive, shaking hands with a masked man outside the HOA headquarters. The timestamp, 3 days ago. Armand's eyes widened. "Daniel, you're still alive." Outside, a car engine idled in the rain, headlights glowing through the mist. And at that moment, Armand understood. He was no longer the hunter. He was being hunted. Thunder rolled in the distance as Armand peered through the cracked motel blinds. The same car sat beneath the flickering streetlight, unmoving, engine still running. His heartbeat echoed in the silence. A sudden knock at the door. 3 slow taps. Then nothing. Armand grabbed the flash drive, slipped it into his pocket, and reached for the rusty motel drawer. A small handgun lay inside. Another knock. Louder this time. "Who is it?" he called out. Voice steady but eyes scanning every shadow. No answer, only the hum of rain. He stepped closer, hand trembling slightly. The peephole showed nothing, just darkness. Then a whisper came from behind the door. "Time's up, Armand." The lights flickered. The power cut out. For a moment, silence ruled. Then, glass shattered. The window burst open, curtains whipping wildly as cold rain. The motel room was silent, except for the rain tapping on broken glass. Armin stood in the dark, every sense alert. The laptop screen blinked back to life. A single new file had appeared. See Truth MP4. He hesitated, then opened it. The video showed Daniel in a dim warehouse, shaking hands with the same masked man from the photo. Behind them, crates stamped with the HOA logo. But as the camera panned, Armin's breath caught. There, in the reflection of a metal door, stood himself, recording the meeting. "What?" he whispered. The clip ended abruptly. A text appeared on screen. "You filmed this 6 months ago. Do you even remember?" Armin stepped back, mind spinning, flashes of fragmented memories flooding his head. Meetings, shadows, deals he couldn't recall. Outside, sirens wailed closer. Someone had called the police. And as red-blue lights painted the wet walls, Armin whispered, "What did I do?" The sirens faded. The motel door burst open, but the room was empty. Only the laptop remained, screen still glowing with the haunting question, "Do you even remember?" Miles away, Armand drove through the rain, his mind unraveling. Flashbacks flickered. Daniel's voice, the handshake, the money. He saw himself standing beside Daniel, smiling. He hadn't been the victim. He'd been part of it. The truth hit him like thunder. 6 months ago, he helped Daniel forge the stolen land documents for money he never received. When guilt consumed him, he erased his memory using the same corrupt tech Daniel funded for the HOA project. Now, it was all coming back. Armand slammed the brakes, the car skidding to a halt at the edge of the city. He looked at his trembling hands and whispered, "It was me all along." In the distance, the city glowed cold and indifferent, as if it had known the truth the entire time.